Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay, one man's quest for unimaginable riches through impractical odds. And well, I'm that man, your host Chris Horwedel. Thank you for tuning in once again. We're back on YouTube, back on Twitch, excited about this, going live, and I'm just happy. I feels right. Feels like this is where we should be. This is what we should be doing. And I'm happy there. Thank you all for your continued support of the show, regardless of where you're watching it. If you are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the episodes and all of that good stuff. Comment, leave your thoughts. If you're watching there, if you're on Spotify or the podcast provider of your choice, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you rate, review, all of that good stuff. It helps us out. And it's appreciated. And also, I stumbled across an article this week that was very kind about the show. I assume whomever took the time to write that is probably listening right now. So thank you very much. You're appreciated. And I will try to live up to the expectations placed upon me through all of that. We're just going to try and have some fun. That's all this is. As always, I have bovadasportsbook.com open in front of me. We're going to take a look at a fun NBA Saturday here. Lots of games. I've got 8 of my favorites, and why don't we dig right in? We're going to start right here, if you're watching on YouTube, this Utah Jazz Charlotte Hornets game, showing the Jazz are going to win this one about 60% of the time outright. No major injuries to worry about here. Jordan Clarkson and Terry Rozier, respectively, game time decisions. Yeah, I think both of them probably play when it's all said and done. We go to the Utah Jazz. This is a team that has massively overperformed this season, especially Lauri Markkanen. Their all-star. He has blossomed into this foundational piece for the Jazz. 25.4 points per game, shooting the three well, leading the Jazz to their surprising 32-35 record so far this season. Third place in the Northwest Division. This is a really fun team to watch. They traded away all of these players. They traded Donovan Mitchell to the Cavs. They traded Rudy Gobert to the Timberwolves in one of the great steals of, I mean, even for Danny Ainge, an absolute steal. And they're playing fun basketball. They're fighting for a playoff spot, and man, they are loaded to bear with draft picks. Future could not be brighter in Utah. For the Hornets, 22-46 on the season, 5th place in the Southeast Division. And with the injury to LaMelo Ball, he'll be shut down for the season. There's not a lot to look forward to here. You are going to get some, if you're a DFS player, you're going to get some cheap big games from Terry Rozier the rest of the way. Kelly Oubre will probably put some points up in losing efforts, but that is going to be what it is. Like I said, last place in the Southeast Division. We're showing that Charlotte has a chance to cover this one. I don't think that's true. Sometimes you have to go against the numbers. That's why for our first pick of this parlay, I'm going to take the Jazz -2.5 and what I kind of consider to be a lock, quite frankly. -2.5, -110 at Bovada for our first pick of this parlay. And we're going to just keep sailing right along. Next game, the Indiana Pacers versus the Detroit Pistons. This is the first game in this 7 o'clock block we have up here on the website. We're showing the Pacers are going to win this one about 80% of the time outright. Detroit, not a lot left. Benedict Mathurin out for the Pacers, and Miles Turner, Tyrese Halliburton, TJ McConnell, all game time decisions. For the Pistons, Isaiah Stewart's out, Bojan Bogdanovic is out, Alec Burks is out, Jaden Ivey is out, Cade Cunningham obviously out. They are out of interest to win games for the rest of the season, if you know what I mean. Playing hard for the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, which we're gonna have that lottery in, I guess, about a month and a half. We'll find out who is gonna be granted the rights to Big Vic. For Indy, 30-37 on the season, kind of in a similar vein to the Jazz, where they're massively overperforming expectations. This is, as we always say, Team Tyrese. Tyrese Halliburton leads the way, 20.8 points per game, 10.4 assists, and the Pacers in 4th place in the Central Division at 30-37. The Pistons, like I said, they're playing for next season. This isn't about now, it's about later. You probably find a situation where maybe Killian Hayes gives you cheap stats like Rozier does for the Hornets. That's something to pay attention to. The Pistons, 15-52, 5th place in the Central Division. One of the worst records in basketball. And just a bad team that doesn't really care about winning right now. We're showing Indy's going to cover this one about 2/3 of the time, and that is where we're going to land as well. -5.5, -110 at Bovada for our second pick of this parlay. The number now up to +264 2 games in. Not mad at it. Let's go right here. The Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic. Heat in Orlando. This is an interesting one. This is a little bit of a toss-up here because of the inconsistencies of these teams, because of some injuries. In terms of players who could play tonight, Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry, both game-time decisions for the Heat. Orlando's pretty healthy, and they've been playing competitive basketball of late. The Heat are 36-32. They're in 1st place in the Southeast Division, led by Jimmy Butler, 22.3 points and 5.1 assists per contest. For the Magic, coming off 3 straight losses, by the way, but not bad losses. They're playing competitive basketball against good teams. Paolo Banchero has been the breakout player for Orlando, giving every chance to shine. He has done just that. 20.1 points per game for the Magic. 27-40, 4th place in the Southeast Division. We're showing Miami's going to cover this line about 70% of the time, and boy, yep, feels right. Feels like this line should be higher. Much like that Jazz-Hornets game, it feels like a give me, which does concern me a tiny bit, to be honest. But we're going to take Heat, -2.5, -110 at Bovada for our third pick in this parlay. And that's going to bring our number all the way up to, as you see on the screen, +596, 3 picks in. Let's go to game 4. This is a fun one. The Boston Celtics in Atlanta to play a Hawks team that seems more interested post-deadline. The Quinn Snyder era of Atlanta Hawks basketball right here. Actually, one of the bigger lines that we have today in a game. A schedule full of fairly competitive games. We're showing the Celtics are going to win this one about 60% of the time. Peyton Pritchard out for the Celtics, but that shouldn't mean a whole heck of a lot. Boston is 46-21. They're in 1st place in the Atlantic Division. Jason Tatum has been the guy. He's ascended this season, 30.3 points per game. Marcus Smart leads the way in assists with 6.6. However, the Celtics only 2-4 in their last 6 games, with losses to the Knicks, the Nets, the Knicks, and the Cavs. So not bad teams, but for the team with the kind of expectations the Celtics have this season, that's not going to cut it. You got to win. You got to win more than 2 of your last 6. The Hawks, 34-33, creeping over 500. They've won their last 2, both games against the Wizards. Prior to that, they dropped 2 to the Heat. Trae Young leads the way, 26.7 points and 10.1 assists per contest for the Hawks, who are in 2nd place in that Southeast Division. We're showing the Celtics going to cover this one about 2/3 of the time. It does feel like the Celtics get things on track a little bit here. Neither team did a ton at the deadline, though Boston really built their team well prior to the season. We'll take the Celtics. I do wonder about this covering the 5 just because the Hawks can score and it's a weird team. So we'll take Celtics money line -200 at Bovada for our 4th pick in this parlay. Gonna raise things all the way up to +944. We're on the cusp of 4 digits here. 4 picks in with 4 to go. Should be a solid number when it's all said and done. Let's go. Oh boy, this one. The Chicago Bulls in Houston to take on the Houston Rockets. We're showing that Chicago should win this one about 85% of the time. Lonzo obviously out for the Bulls, hasn't played at all this season, will not play at all this season. Kevin Porter Jr., a game-time decision for the Rockets, though I believe they're better without him trying to play point guard. Looking at the Chicago Bulls, 30-36 on the season, disappointing year, and there was, talk of blowing that up at the deadline. Didn't end up doing that. They're in third place in the Central. DeMar DeRozan leads the team 24.9 points and 5.1 assists per game. By the way, Lonzo about to get a third surgery. That's not good news. Wishing Lonzo well, because one of the truly fun players to watch play basketball that we have today. The Houston Rockets are in that same conversation as the Detroit Pistons. They've got no interest in winning games at this point. They've got interest in adding Victor Wembanyama. It will be interesting to see what happens if they land on that number 2 pick. Do they add Scoot Henderson? It's going to be a mess. Kevin Porter Jr. has to go. He's got to go. And how about the breakout season, and how much fun is Şengün in the middle for the Rockets? A lot of pieces, just not pieces that necessarily fit right now. They're in last place in the Southeast Division. We're showing the Bulls are going to cover this one about 2/3 of the time. It's a big line. I struggle with the -7.5 because Houston is another team that can get hot and score the basketball. I don't think we're going to overthink this one too much. I think we're going to play it safe. We'll take Bulls money line -300 at Bovada for our 5th pick of this parlay, and we'll move right on as we've jumped up to plus 1292. Our 6th game, and this one should have been more fun than it's going to be, as probably the 2 headliners are going to be out for their respective teams here. I am, of course, talking about the Dallas Mavericks in Memphis to take on the Memphis Grizzlies, 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight. We're showing that Memphis should win this one about 2/3 of the time. Dallas will be without Luka. McKinley Wright, Reggie Bullock, Kyrie, and JaVale McGee game time decisions. The Grizz without Ja, without Steven Adams, and without Vince Williams Jr. Not as big a deal. The Mavericks 34-33, second place in the the Southwest Division. They've lost 4 of their last 6. Do we have questions about this Kyrie-Luka relationship working out long term? Yeah, probably. I don't know that I would feel comfortable with Kyrie as my second piece, but I do understand why the Mavericks took the big swing that they did at the deadline. Luka leads the way, though he is, of course, out 33 points, 8 assists for the do-it-all Slovenian guard. For Memphis, 36-29, first place in the Southwest Division. John Morant leads the way in points and assists, though, as I mentioned, he won't be in the lineup. Going to give other guys an opportunity to shine, and there are plenty of other pieces on this Memphis team. They're coming off of a 21-point win over the Warriors following 3 consecutive losses, which was followed by 3 consecutive wins. So that is the Grizzlies. We're showing Dallas covers this one a little more often than not. I don't see that personally, though I don't know that Memphis is going to be able to cover the 6. I hate to do it, but I think we're going to go with a 3rd straight money line. We're going to take the Grizz -225 at Bovada for our 6th pick in this parlay, and that is going to bring the number all the way up to plus 1910. A $100 bet wins $1,910. Though, as I say every single week, hitting a parlay is extraordinarily hard. It says it on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Do not take what I say as the law. Do not put too much faith into old Christopher here. Take what you like from what I say, combine it with what you like from what you feel, and that's the way I advise you to proceed forward, not just throwing down the 8 picks that I throw down every week. Bad idea. We win a lot, but look, we've only hit a couple parlays in the history of the show, so statistically speaking, probably not gonna happen, though I feel good about this week. I think we've hit 3 or 4. We gotta bring that number up. All right, let's get to our 7th game of the night. Really fun game. Two extremely fun basketball teams, although as we're seeing, especially later in the season, there's some headliners out. We're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder in New Orleans to take on the New Orleans Pelicans. This is one of the closer lines of the day, just short of the Bucks-Warriors game, which I'm not going anywhere near. Not interested, no thanks. For the Thunder, Kenrich Williams is out for the season. For the Pelicans, Zion's out tonight. And B.I., a game-time decision, which is obviously a pretty big deal, though CJ he's been eating lately. He has really stepped up a notch since being traded to the Pelicans. We're showing this is really a coin flip, a slight favorite in New Orleans, but that can go the other way really quickly if Ingram is out. The Thunder 31-35 on the season, 4th place in the Northwest Division. Shea has had he's probably been the breakout player in basketball this year. 31.2 points per game. Josh Giddey has figured things out. 6.2 assists and shooting the ball a heck of a lot better. The future is incredibly bright for Oklahoma City, not just because of all those draft picks, not just because they have Chet Holmgren ready to suit up next season. And boy, do I want to see them defy the odds and add Wembanyama to Chet and Shea and Jalen Green and Josh Giddey. We could have a powerhouse in Oklahoma City, and that would be incredible for the NBA. For New Orleans, they are 32-34. They're coming off of a win over the Mavericks. 113-106 win. CJ, 21.2 points and 5.8 assists. The official leader in both of those categories because of games played for the Pels. We're showing that Oklahoma City is going to win this one, or at least going to cover this one, pardon me, about 55% of the time. I feel all right with that. I think we're going to take the win outright. This is going to be the first time we go plus money, and it's going to make up for some of those money lines earlier. So we'll take the Thunder plus 115 for the upset at Bovada. And that is going to bring the whole thing up to plus 4,222 with one game to go. That game is the Sacramento Kings in Phoenix to take on the Phoenix Suns. The Kings, well, we're showing that they're going to lose this one about 60% of the time. Often we say who's going to win. This time it's about who's going to lose. But the Kings have been fun, too. They've been competitive, way better than we expected. 39-26 on the season. For the Kings, no major concerns about players who could potentially be in the lineup. For the Suns, there's a giant one. Suns fans going to have to wait a little bit longer to watch Kevin Durant play in a Phoenix jersey at home, as he is out after spraining his ankle a couple of nights ago. For the Kings, like I said, surprising. First place in the Pacific Division, 39-26. They're 2.5 games ahead of Phoenix. They've won 2 in a row. Domantas Sabonis he's in that conversation with Shea as the breakout players in the league this year. Leads the team in assists at 7 per contest. For Phoenix, they're 37-29. They're in second place, right behind the Kings. And it's just a weird team because Booker has missed games, because Durant is going to miss 2 to 3 weeks here with this ankle. DeAndre Ayton, who it looked like was probably not going to be a Sun this season, leads the team. Is their official leader in scoring at 18.2 and assists at 1.9 because, hey, they've had injuries. The Suns have won 4 consecutive games. No giant wins in there. Good 21-point win over the Bulls. They snuck a win over the Mavericks, but nothing spectacular. I do think I feel better about them than I do Sacramento here, even though the Kings are one of the highest scoring offenses in all of basketball at 121.1 per game. Absolutely outstanding and a fun team to watch play. We're showing Phoenix covers this one about 62% of the time. Yeah, I'm okay with it, but at the same time, we're looking at minus 110 versus minus 165 for that money line, and that minus 165 at Bovada is where we're going to land. We're going to play it safe, as we always do in these situations. So there we are. A card that I feel really good about, 8 picks plus 6,841 for the week, an NBA Sunday, and an extremely fun one. Thank you so much for your continued support of the show and all of that. I'll be back next week for another episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay. I've been Chris Horwedel, and we'll see you then.